In this video, I and the Reed family go live in Atlanta, Georgia with Tamara Shealey and Robby Coban. Follow along.
You're watching DC Born Rob, erasing borders. And now, the news.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever it is you're located, and thanks for watching. My name is Rob Christian, also known as DC Born Rob or DC Rob or Rob. I answer to them all. This video, again, I and the Reed family go live in Atlanta, Georgia with possibly the next senator of Georgia, Tamara Shealey.
Morning, good morning, good morning. I am Tamara Johnson-Shealey. Good morning, good morning. Oh, it is a beautiful sunny morning here in the ATL. Welcome to the broadcast. If you're following us right here on YouTube, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button. Let me see where my trusty co-host is. Good morning, Miss Robby.
Morning, Tamara. How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you? You look so pretty today.
Oh, you my love, but you never call me Miss Robby. What's this?
I know, right? All formal this morning. Robby.
Okay, we clean up okay.
We clean up okay.
Now that the city has opened. Now that the city has reopened, we are too.
Yeah, now that the city is reopened. But we have a guest this morning. We have a family this morning. We have a story this morning that is quite heartbreaking. I'm going to bring in our co-host. He's going to co-host with us this morning. This was a story that he has broken. Good morning, Mr. DC Rob. How are you?
I am doing well. Good morning, ladies. How are you?
We're doing good, doing good. Welcome to the broadcast. Unfortunately, not under the best circumstances, but you are welcome, and we're nice to see you. Nice to meet you in person as best we can.
Yeah, virtually meet you. Yeah,
virtually.
Yeah.
Colombia, you are a blogger. Well, you are a video. What do you call yourself when you do these YouTube spaces the way you do it? Robby and I talk about Georgia politics, activism. We kind of stay in our lane. Tell us what you do, DC Rob.
Well, YouTube content creator or YouTuber or vlogger, whatever you want to call us. And I focus specifically, well, mostly on Colombia, but just travel in general, trying to encourage people to get their passports.
You see too few of us kind of venturing beyond the U.S. borders, and you're trying to encourage us to do more, see more.
Exactly. I truly believe it changes who you are for the better. When you get to see other experiences and how other people live and go into their homes, learn about different cultures, it changes who you are for the better. If you only stay in your city, that's all you know. If you only stay in your state, that's all you know.
Yeah, so. You're right. You broke a story. And I wanted to, you reached out to me, and I called you. I think I want to say I reached back almost immediately when I got that email. It was like, what is this? And you broke a story. I'm gonna let you have take the reins and the mic, and this is your show today. Let's tell the story.
Well, since I blog on the news for Colombia, I look at, 10 or 15 different news media outlets in Colombia. Google translates it for me because I'm just okay in reading Spanish. And so I watch the stories. And so this story popped up right away. A murder of an American, of course, is a big deal in that country, especially as far as news. And, for expats who live there, it's kind of a big deal. But I was really attracted to the story once I dug a little bit deeper to find out that he was 52. He was from Atlanta. He had a family here. And he had just met a young lady there for 3 months in Barranquilla, Colombia. He's also a restaurateur. I grew up in the restaurant industry. He's Black, I'm Black. We had a lot of things in common. So and the thing is, in this case, he has blogged his entire journey to purchase a business there, to purchase a property which had 3 apartments above and a restaurant below. And so every time he got his commercial ID, he got incorporated, he got his official cedula, the Colombian ID, he got his visa, he blogged all of this. So you can see his spirit. And once you see his spirit and you watch these videos, you can't help but be touched by this man. So, you know, I ask his spirit to guide us in finding justice for him. But I have, I'm sorry, go ahead.
His name
is Timothy Revell Reed.
Yeah, let's say his name.
Yes. Timothy Revell Reed, 52 years old, from Atlanta, Georgia, Morehouse graduate. He owned Q's Barbecue. If anybody has had Q's Barbecue or Q's Spicy Ribs in Atlanta, you know who he is. And there's got to be some of your viewers who know him. He's got a lot of video with a lot of happy customers down there.
For those people who don't know Rob or DC Rob, how do you want to be? How do you want to be addressed?
Either Rob or I go by, on my channel, it's DC Born Rob. I'm Rob. I was born in DC, and they just stuck with it. DC Born Rob, erasing borders.
Okay. For those people who don't know, can you tell a little bit about expat, the phenomenon, you know, folks moving abroad, and just what is that exactly?
Oh, there is a large community of expats in Colombia, Medellin specifically. That's really the only one I can touch on because I lived there for 3 months.
Just expat for people who don't know the term.
I'm sorry, expats, Americans that move abroad, want to live abroad, and possibly for the rest of their lives. I mean, that includes getting a full-on visa to stay there, getting their Colombian ID. They live there. They immerse themselves into the culture.
Got it. So it would be equivalent to folks coming to the U.S. immigration-wise, like on a visa, or is it dual citizenship, or do they give up the American passport?
I don't know for sure, but I don't believe most give up their American passport. I would not. You know, let's say that I would want that dual citizenship if nothing else. But they can stay there and stay under either a business visa or, you know, they can stay for a shorter period for a student visa. But I think Mr. Reed was going for a business visa. And so he had to spend a certain amount of money in the country to obtain it.
So I actually looked at some of your videos in preparation for the story on your channel. I saw about 3, like a trilogy. So to sum it up, to understand for the viewers who maybe are just coming on, you found a story about an American who was an expat traveling to Colombia, who was a business owner in Atlanta, who moved to Barranquilla to start a business and purchase property. And he vlogged about his experience, and he winded up ultimately being killed and or murdered, and people are not sure. And those made headlines in Colombia because that when an American is killed abroad, it's significant and makes the news. And you're here to help get him justice. Is that
exactly? The challenge has been getting media outlets and our government representatives to step up and offer assistance and give information to the family. You know, if you watch my first few videos, I was asking for the family, if you're watching my videos, give me a call, reach out to me. And ultimately we did speak later. But I wasn't going to stop this story until a major outlet had taken it up because this needs to be known. For other people, this has happened for other people, and it made national news in the United States. Here, this story has not made a peep outside of Colombia. And that's unfortunate.
And who are the reps that would be responsible, accountable to aid in Atlanta, Georgia, since that's where Mr. Reed was from?
Well, in Georgia, my guess would be Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, which is, yes, and I figured he would have stepped up a whole lot quicker than, well, we haven't heard anything back from his office really as far as information or assistance. But I and my viewers have been reaching out for the past, 3 weeks to get in touch with him. He's also a Morehouse grad. Mr. Reed was a Morehouse grad. I thought Morehouse men stuck together. So I thought I would get more traction with Morehouse as well, but nothing.
Well, you're saying he as an individual, but you mentioned 2 representatives, John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock. So is it both who have not responded?
Correct. Have not responded to us. I reached out to the offices together and I spoke to someone on the phone, but no real movement. There's been no acknowledge that this even happened. He has not reached out to the family. No one has reached out to the family after the first few days. And when I first interviewed the family, that was the biggest shock to me. because the embassy told me we're in touch with the family. So I said, okay, let me back off with the embassy. And then I spoke to the family and they said, no, radio silence ever since the beginning. It's unfortunate.
You said you've been covering 3 weeks, so this occurred early May, or was it before? What's the timeline?
April 20th. April 20th is when he was
about
murdered.
a month. Okay. I saw in your videos you know are referencing using his blog, his video blog, maybe some potential suspects. Are the police investigating? Like, what is happening now? Or
that's just it. We don't know. We're left to our own devices. I have a bunch of people who are helping me out with good information and insight on the case. But as far as the police themselves in Colombia, 0 for the family. As far as the government, 0 for the family. Now, she just got back, I think Veronica, who is Tim's ex-wife and the 2 youngest boys' mom, she just sent off the privacy, I guess, because they cannot just give out information to anybody. So she had to send that out a few days ago. I'm not sure if she's heard anything back from them yet.
Let's introduce the family, DC Born Rob. Let's introduce the family to our audience.
Okay, we have, and I think we're missing one person in the picture now, but we have Veronica, who's Tim's ex-wife, and Elisha, who is Timothy's son.
Good morning and welcome to the broadcast. I hate that we're here under these circumstances, but we're here. We're here and we're here for you.
I'm sorry for the loss.
Thank you so much. Thank y'all so much.
In fact, Tamara, I'm going to take the YouTube link and start sharing it. So give me 1 minute. I'll be right back.
I'm going to mute your mic. We're getting a little back feed as well. And you are how old, the gentlemen are how old?
I'm 21. I just graduated from Savannah State University.
I'm 19, and I just did 1 year of college this year.
And I have a stepson, Tim Jr., who's 30. I'm sorry, go ahead, baby.
I went to Albany State University.
Awesome. I'm a Savannah native, Elisha, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And that's Emmanuel in the middle now.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. So what have you, Veronica, no word, no contact, nothing. Give us your story.
Back on April 20th, when it first happened, we received an email from the embassy asking us to return a letter stating that we would be the ones to receive the death certificate. I sent that in, and they told me it would be, I guess, 3 to 4 weeks before we received the death certificate. So in those 3 weeks from then, we haven't heard anything, but I have been sending privacy release letters, that type of nature. I sent a copy of power of attorney information over there, trying to get them to jump to send me something to let me know as far as what's going on. We haven't heard anything, from them other than the forms that I received. I may get an email return back saying, thank you, we've received your information. But from that, nothing from the police, nothing from the embassy.
And where's the body?
He was buried over there, which was in his will because he had chosen to move over to South America. So that was in his will that he would be laid to rest over in South America. And his girlfriend there, she helped us, with the arrangements. And we had a Zoom service there, and he was laid to rest over there. But as far as her, we haven't heard from her either since about 2 or 3 days after his service.
Are all the financial affairs settled? And if, feel free to not answer anything you're not comfortable with. But the reason I ask is because I'm wondering if, my family is from abroad, both my parents. We have family, well, my father's from the Caribbean, my mother's from South America, very close to Colombia, actually. And we have family kind of sporadic, spread out. And I grew up visiting, and I speak fluent Spanish and all of that. And I grew up as a kid kind of experiencing the cultures, you know, from all sides and hearing different perspectives. And I would hear kind of my uncles, and when I would visit, my grandmother was afraid, you know, I may get kidnapped. My uncles would kind of lose their money in banks that went under. It's called bancarrota. And I also saw the currency issues. So is there a financial thing going on here with the government? Are the assets seized? I mean, I'm just wondering if that's possibly why you're not getting traction, because there was a building and considerable funding involved, correct?
Yes. Yes. And that's information that we're trying to get. We're here in the state. We're in the process of obtaining an attorney here for us, you know, to speak on our behalf there. But as far as the property purchase and the restaurant,
Assets on his phone. It's on his phone.
yeah, and we don't one of my sons of his assets and things of that nature on his phone. So that was the only way I could reach her, was on his phone, because that's what she has. But as far as his property, no, we don't have any paperwork. We don't know whose name is on what, and that's why we're trying to. We have my oldest son, Tim Jr., we have set up me so that we can, you know, obtain attorneys and investigators, interpreters as well, to help us get this thing moving.
Let me offer this on behalf of Tamara and the show. I have friends who are that I trust, and colleagues, work associates. I'm in real estate, so we always have to deal with attorneys. But we do have folks on our firm that are from Colombia. They're actually here working on visas, etc. If you need assistance with someone who is fluent, an attorney locally here in Atlanta, which is probably your best, to kind of get you at least documentation, because I know that it can be very challenging to do what you're trying to do from here with nothing, really, with no phone, with no documents, with no email, and probably a bureaucracy the way that when we call the IRS, you're going through with the Colombian government, I'm guessing. Anyway, I'm happy to do that if that's helpful.
Yes, please. Yes, thank you. You kind of broke up. We didn't hear everything you said, but yes, all the help that we can get.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll try to find you an attorney here in the States who speaks Spanish, who actually is from Colombia. That might be your best shot, to be very plain about it.
Okay. Thank you.
It is. Can you hear me, ladies? Just right quick, just a quick summary of what happened. Timothy moved to Colombia last December. He had an ex-girlfriend there for a year and a half prior. He met this young lady, the current young lady, in January. They had only known each other for 3 months. She was the only person, well, she was his interpreter, let's say that, because he didn't speak Spanish at all. So all the legal documents, everything was done with her as a translator. So what we don't know is whose name is on the paperwork for the house. It's the reason she may not be calling back now. We don't know. But there's a lot of things that need to be answered from that side, and we're not getting the assistance and from either the girlfriend who's there, and actually she's still living in the property. So we don't know if the deal went through. We don't know if the deal went through and it was a done deal and the guy took the check. It was $192,000, which is, you're a millionaire in Colombia with that amount of money. So, you know, you can get killed for $20. So, you know, that type of money, people were watching, you know, is my guess. But there's so many suspects in this. It's unbelievable. But we're still getting no answers at all. I have my viewers who are doing due diligence and pulling up the property. We found the property, and I told Veronica earlier, we found the name of the owner of the property because it hasn't changed titles yet. But we need that number to go to the notary to pull up the title, if that's going to be the quickest way to get it. But an attorney, by all means, that's exactly that type of assistance is what they're needing right now, and an investigator on the ground there.
Yeah, I mean, I actually am very empathetic, not only for your loss, but I can only imagine the walls that you're getting because, you know, it's a lucrative property in the sense that I only know this from the videos, and we will put the videos on this link so that, or on the text, on the threads or commentary, so people know how to find you and watch them if they want to. But basically, in essence, it was kind of a multi-unit with a business on the bottom and residential units on the top. And so what you're describing, and of course you referenced in your videos, and if I make a mistake in speaking, please correct me. You know, the people who were, the business that was there was going to be relocated. So there's a question on if there was a retaliation factor. And then the people who were in the residences and the apartments were going to be relocated. So there's a question on there. There's a question on the owner. You know, what was he, because in the video, your relative describes being fearful and that the whole transaction was very awkward. And then, of course, there's the question of the new girlfriend who's not responsive. So, but then again, you know, you're operating as a foreigner, whether he was in the process of getting visas or not. And of course, there is a backlash in general. Then they're not going to move unless you make them move. And you really need someone, meaning the government, you know, who is going to be an advocate for you. It's a shame that I don't know what's going on with our state reps, but I'm sure it's not personal because they don't respond to many people. But you would think, given this, and as you said, so many, you know, correlations, being a Morehouse grad and a Morehouse man, I believe you're referencing Raphael Warnock. I don't think John Ossoff went to Morehouse. I'm pretty sure he didn't. But yeah, we deserve a response. You know, the family deserves a response. Mr. Reed deserves a response. The public deserves a response. So we'll try to get you that and help with what we can. An attorney who knows the system in Colombia, who's bilingual, will be able to pull up property records, interface with you locally, and actually will know boots on the ground. You have no boots on the ground. We keep unmuting the mic so that there won't be background. So you have to unmute.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I had to unmute myself. I said, I have a question for the family. What compelled him to move abroad? Like, what was it about Colombia that, you know, was so attractive to him? Do you guys know?
He really loved the area. I know me and him, during my spring break 2019, we visited Panama City. And so just being abroad just really opened his eyes, and he could like see, he just they're opening a business in here. And
He had always talked about moving anyway. Even before he had divorced, he was like, you know, is that something you would like to do, you know, once the boys grown and gone to school? Would you be willing to move over? I wasn't willing to. I'm a Georgia peach. Been here all my life. There would be fine, but no, that's just something that I didn't. But he wanted to, and he was a bit adventurous type of guy, so that was him.
Yeah, he was very, very adventurous. He liked to travel different places, to see the world, to see different opportunities and different like cultures and all types of stuff like that.
This is heartbreaking. This is heartbreaking, but we're going to get some resolve. I think, you know, continuing to have, you know, push the story, you know, push our legislators. You know, we're not going to just sit by and let them not pay attention to this story. So we're going to continue to push on the ground here. You know, sometimes we got to be our own media, and that's why we have this broadcast. That's why Rob does what he does on YouTube, and I do what I do here with Robby. I mean, we have to push, because sometimes traditional media just won't hear us. They don't respond to us from the ground. So we have to push our own media. Rob, how's it been going with the traction on your YouTube channel? Unmute. You got to unmute.
Okay. there's been a lot of interest in the story by the viewers, but by the mainstream media. And if you read the comments, they'll say, why is this not major news? Why is this not in the US? Why is this not on American stations? And to read the comments there in Spanish, where they actually think our government's going to do something. They say, oh, he messed with a foreigner. Oh, they messed with an American. They're going to get extradited. They have no idea that nothing has been done and we're getting no assistance. And supposedly there's video of the crime, but nothing has been released to the family. So we're just asking for justice from both sides, from the Colombian government and from the U.S. representatives, to, if they have to make a phone call, if they have to go down there, at least to call the family and offer condolences, and an acknowledgement that this even happened. Otherwise, this story will get lost, and that's why I have not dropped it. I was not going to let it go until mainstream media picks this up and the family gets justice and they get that property. That family gets that property that they are due.
Is the video like surveillance video, the alleged video that may be of the crime? Is it some type of security surveillance video?
That's what the police said in the news, that it's, I guess they have it, they call it sectors, but I guess corners. And there is a photo. I sent it to you earlier before we jumped on. I don't know if you saw your email, Tamara, but I sent a picture of you. There's been a picture that was released. I don't know how the media there got a hold of a screenshot from that video, but there's a picture of the two gentlemen and the motorcycle. As well as, you also have to factor in, there was a picture taken of Timothy minutes before it happened from behind. He was sitting across the street from his new location, his new property, and I guess just looking at what he just created. And someone in that house took a picture of it, and it ended up on Facebook. Why would somebody take a picture of him?
For those people watching, because the chat, there's like a lot of comments on the chat. Please, please, please tweet Warnock, tweet Ossoff, tweet, Georgia reps, tweet this story so that this family gets some response, some acknowledgement, some backing. And we'll dissect the comments, and we wanted to obviously hear from all y'all. But it really, whether you agree that somebody should move abroad, whether you agree this is a man and justice, the issue is not, is this a good man or not? And obviously he was, his family's here very lovingly talking about him and his spirit of entrepreneurship and, love of diversity. That's what I interpreted what you're saying. But it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter who he was. We're not here to judge. We're here to try to get justice and some closure for this family and to hold our elected officials accountable. They cannot have closure and move on in some type of peace after what's happened to them with nothing, with no response from, Georgia officials, with no cooperation from the government. Tamara, you want to say what that is?
These, Rob, you want to give us tell us what this picture is, and then I'll go and get the other one as well. Oh, unmute Rob.
Okay. This is the picture that was found by one of the news medias. Actually, one of my viewers scours the internet and found one news source that did a more in-depth report on it. Somehow they were able to get a steal from the video. So that means the police does have a video, but nothing has been released. This has happened before in Colombia, and the police have offered rewards. Nothing in this case. It's been radio silence. But this is a picture supposedly at the exact same time, the red motorcycle that everyone has been looking for. One of the stories actually has the license tag number on the back of it. So this is supposedly who did the act.
The alleged hit people or
hit man,
yeah.
person, whoever.
Yeah.
And I don't want to upset the family farther than what they're already going through. But the way that Mr. Reed was killed, this was very unusual to just have it be an accident. Is that fair to say? When I listen to your videos, it just seems like a willful planned hit.
We can't hear you, Rob. Unmute.
If you watch my first or second video when I first put it up, I said, this is a hit. This is a setup, is what I said. This is a setup. There's just too many coincidences. If you watch his videos and you find out how many possible suspects there are, and the fact that he was shot twice in the head, and the standard police response is that it's a robbery for his gold chain. Now, they will rob you for your gold chain, granted. But he had been in that neighborhood for 4 months, or been in Barranquilla for 4 months, not a problem. Not until 3 days after he purchased that property and that went through did this happen. Even after that was stated by the police, people have come out, witnesses who have said, that's not true. I was there. They hopped right off and started shooting. That this was, and this was not about, the gold chain. No one mentioned a gold chain from witnesses.
There's a comment in the in the chat, and it's from Mike C. And I guess I want to ask the family and you, Rob. Mike C says, we got to get the story circulating. There it is, within the media, or else these countries are going to feel that they can harm Black people with no repercussions. Do you think there is a race factor here, that if this was a, Caucasian American murder, you would have better results, better cooperation, better response, better coverage? What are your thoughts?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was still off. I can't say for sure because I don't know what's in anyone's head, but I can only look at the examples that are prior. A gentleman fell off his roof in Medellin, and that was major story in the U.S. The same robbery story with the gold chain, a robbery gone bad. Somebody tried to steal his gold chain and they shot him and killed him. The same, it seems like that's a standard response, that it's a gold chain. It was a robbery and they fought back. So I don't know if they're trying to teach tourists, just don't fight back and give up, whatever it is. But I just look at the examples of each one of those other gentlemen that made it on U.S. News, and they were not Black. So I don't know what conclusion I'm supposed to make.
Sounds like, what the family, what do y'all think? Do you think if your family member, Mr. Reed, was a Caucasian, who had been killed in this fashion with property, appearing to be a setup, do you think you would have had a response from your representatives and the coverage would have been larger?
What do you guys think? If it would have been white.
And please, if you don't feel comfortable answering anything, it's totally fine. Whatever you want to chat with.
Do you feel like answering?
I kind of agree with what Rob said. Due to previous incidents, and then this happened, and we don't get anything from anybody. So I just feel like something needs to happen.
I have to say that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was finished.
I have to say that as a Latina here, born in the States, I would probably bet money that if Mr. Reed, if your family was a Caucasian that this happened to, it would make headlines and you would get a better response. I don't believe that Black life is honored, respected as much as white life is.
I agree, Robby. Period. Yeah.
We're gonna do. Go ahead.
That's why this. Like I said, those of us who have these non-traditional spaces with providing media, providing news. This is why our work is so important, because we will have to be the voices for our community. Nobody's gonna do it for us, and nobody's gonna tell our story here in America. And we have to force it. Rob.
Exactly. If we don't do it, who will? If I had not continued to push the story, we wouldn't be here today. It would have just disappeared. And I don't know if you've seen, but Colombia has some issues right now they're going through. There's protests. I got caught up in one of the protests in gas. So it's this, and that's been going on for the past 2 weeks. So it could easily swallow this story up if we let it go. So other YouTubers are kicking in also. I've reached out to other YouTubers to see if they can support, maybe bring the family on. support the GoFundMe. Again, there is a GoFundMe that Tim Jr. set up because they're going to need the funds to be able to take care of an attorney. Should you be able to even, offer one, I'm sure they're going to need to pay for the attorney and a possible investigator there or somebody on the ground there that can just go to the notary, go to the bank and ask for paperwork. But
tell us the GoFundMe. Let me put it on the screen. What is it?
It's Timothy Revell Reed Sr. Memorial.
I'll put it on the screen. Robby.
Please, after this show, and my number's public, feel free, we'll connect and we'll get you the attorney that you need who can get you an investigator on the ground and start that process. Once there's an attorney is involved, your local officials in Colombia, the police, they'll handle it differently. And hopefully this broadcast will be tweeted, to our local representatives, our state reps, John Ossoff and Reverend Raphael Warnock, who will be responsive and hopefully then reach out to you and then we can get an update. Is there anything else that we can do or of course we can talk off record, offline if you prefer that, but do you want the public to know anything else? And what do you want? You could have everything you wanted. Obviously, you would have your father and your ex-husband back and your family member. But beyond that, what now? What can we do? What do you want?
Basically, we want justice. Bottom line, justice. We need someone held accountable for what has happened. And we need information.
Yeah, we want to know all the details, and we just want to be free. Like, my dad was just trying to live his dreams. So I just want us to just be able to do, we just want closure and
Justice.
Justice.
I want to know why and what happened. And really, that's it.
I completely understand where you're coming from. I can only imagine. We need to get you an attorney, but of course you want to know, what happened and the details of it and the footage, and you want the police to respond to you, and you want the, closure of this property and what's going to happen now, with your family's assets. And our elected officials who we pay to live very well as taxpayers should be responsive to you. You're American citizens and you fund those salaries and you pay your taxes, and so did your father. And no response at all is horrible and unacceptable.
We've added the GoFundMe to the screen. Everybody watching, please share this video. Let's get this family justice. Please, let's support this initiative. Let's make sure they have all the resources they need. DC Rob, thank you for being in this fight, brother. I know sometimes this gets heavy, the work that we do, but I just want to say thank you for being committed, following your spirit and staying in the fight for this family.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. This is my family now. I'm speaking on your behalf like I'm a brother as well. So that's how I've looked at it since this has begun. I'm not going to let it go. It will not be dropped.
We appreciate it. Thank you also, Miss Tamara.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Oh, you are more than welcome. We're local right here to Georgia. I do have a pretty good audience of people that follow me. I have a pretty extensive media list. I will be sharing this video. I will be sharing your efforts. We're gonna stay at it, Rob. Make sure let's stay connected. Let's bring the family back as this continues to unfold. And let's keep fighting, brother. I'm with you and the Reed family. We're all family now. We've adopted you too. Like I'm your sister, Robby and I. We're here. We're not gonna let go, and we're gonna continue to fight with you until justice is served.
Can I ask? I'm not sure how long you'll stay on, but was Mr. Reed a Q? I know you said he went to Morehouse. Was he a frat just based on was he part of the Qs?
He wasn't, but Tim Jr. is. He graduated from Oklahoma State.
Okay. The reason I ask is not only because of the restaurant name, but there's the East Point councilman who went to Morehouse who was the Q. And I'll reach out to him. His name is Joshua Butler, and I'll ask him to follow up with you. And I have I'll give you his cell. We'll take care of that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
No.
We're here. Rob, thank you for joining us. The family, we are here. We're going to stay in this fight with you. Our audience, please GoFundMe. Let's support this family. Let's make sure justice is served. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, ladies, so much. Really.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Robby.
I'm going to text them myself just for a minute, and I'll send everybody the contact stuff.
Yeah, we have work to do, and I don't want to let this go. I feel like Rob. It's like we're going to stick and stay, and we're going to stay in this fight until justice is served, and we're going to push our representatives here, Congress, U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock, specifically. This is a Morehouse man. This is family. This is Morehouse.
I'm surprised they were so kind about everything. I would be so angry.
Well, there's stages to grief. There's when you're grieving. I remember, I know grief, and I know there's stages to it where you get so angry that you say things, you do things, and it comes up and it comes out. And then there's stages of grief where you kind of don't have no words. You're sad. There's stages of it. And, God bless this family. I pray their strength. These are young men that are my son's age. I have sons that are the same age as these gentlemen. And, I losing a father, that's hard. That's hard.
And I hope they do get answers, because it's rough to not ever know, but at least attempt to, at least the officials can attempt to help them get the answers and, close up this chapter, at least of this situation. I mean, if he was targeted, if Mr. Reed was targeted for, his assets, and this contract on this property, and yes, yes, there is a video, you need an attorney. Yes, they do. Then those people should not wind up with the benefits, so that all needs to get addressed. He basically has assets, and, that needs to be willed to his family so that they can, even if, I don't know if they're going to find out who the people who killed him are. I've experienced, stuff like this in my family, and we didn't find out. We had to move on, but the closure of everything else and just having representatives respond to you, that is insanity, that there's no response from U.S. reps.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So Tamara and I discussed this prior because it was such a convoluted story. And I think that DC Rob did a great job, and he has done a great job bringing this to light and getting us to cover it and explaining what has occurred. But there is a kind of larger component, and we purposely wanted to have the family on to tell their story and then kind of separate that discussion from one of the questions, ironically, that the young man asked, why? So shall we talk about that?
Yeah, let me put this comment. He says the U.S. government is going to drag their feet on this because the U.S. government and corporations have ties into Colombia and to the business community, legal and otherwise. You know what I mean? Yeah, and the fact that this is a black man, let's just be clear. A black life in another country, it doesn't seem to have any priority here in America. So, what's going to happen over in a foreign land? They're like, well, throw their hands up. This is heartbreaking.
I agree with Mr. Shannon, Don Shannon. He's absolutely correct. Actually, we did some research, and the Colombian government invited folks in the same way, the U.S. does with, UB visas and so on. And it's a financial component. And actually, they were successful because the number of expats, people that are of non-Colombia that went to Colombia, rose in 1 year 160%. So what you're seeing is a huge influx of non-Colombians. And, I have to say this just because that's what we do on this show. The residents who live there, the Colombians, probably feel a certain type of way about that. Now, I'm not talking about the residents who have money and who they're not going to compete with the new influx of residents who are not Colombian. I'm talking about the residents who don't have money. And it probably feels kind of like the way people feel about gentrification in the States, which some people call colonization. So although this has no bearing on whether or not this needs to be investigated, or whether or not his life had value and that we need to honor him after he's not with us anymore here in physical, or whether or not these state reps should be responding, because that is all clear. Yes, our local or any official should be responsive to their constituency. Yes, this family deserves justice for their family member. Yes, this family deserves any official government, or government agency, i.e. the police, to responsibly investigate. But we also, as a global family, need to understand the context of where we are moving and how we are moving, because clearly we are affected.
Yeah. I'm gonna swing back and I want to talk about the woman. She says if Black life appears not to have value in America, that perception will be carried abroad. I agree. And she says facts. I agree. This woman who was probably that he had met, and she was his quote unquote translator. And he'd only known her, what he said, for 3 months. Who knows what she was translating? Who knows? I mean, who knows what those documents actually said? It could say something like, he's gifting this to her, and she's the owner, and I'm giving her this money to buy this property. This property could actually come out to be like in her name or something. Like, I'm not saying that is the case. I don't know. None of us know what's going on, but I'm just saying the fact that this woman was translating on his behalf, that makes me very uncomfortable about how this all could truly play out, because she can say that, he gave me this.
I mean, she could. And I obviously I'm Latin, and, women of color, Latin women, Black women, there's always a spectrum of like the white virgin wife, and then the Latin women of color, Asian core mistress, whatever. So I want to be very cognizant of what I say about a woman that I don't know. That being said, if she's living in, and I saw the building, it's a classic street front. He mentioned it was Barranquilla, right? Yeah, Barranquilla is hugely popular. It's actually where Shakira, the singer, is from. So they have an influx of tourists and so on. But I assure you, if this woman was living in an apartment above a store like that in Barranquilla, if she did have some involvement that was an issue, she is not alone. She is not the mastermind behind this. And are there setups online, with women abroad, setting Americans up? That's not a secret. That is not a secret. But let's be very clear. Americans go abroad to find foreign women. And there's situations around that. And, again, we have to be cognizant of how we move. We cannot walk around with blinders and that's what this story shows you. You can't walk around with blinders and not understand global policy, because it will come to you directly. and your family. Am I being clear here? Do I need to be more specific?
I think what I'm hearing is, we just have to be mindful as we move into these spaces that aren't native to you. Like, I sent you a video, Robby, just yesterday, I believe it was, of how a white woman and an Asian woman, they had moved into the 7th Ward over in New Orleans, and they were having a block party, and they blocked off the street, and they literally felt like they owned the block. And
no permit.
And they had no permit, and they had no regard for the fact that, they were gentrifying this community. And what I think you're holistically trying to say, the parallels that you're trying to get people to see, is that as we move into these communities that aren't our communities, we have to be mindful and respectful of the people in those who are legacy, that you like to call legacy residents. We have to be mindful and respectful. And not to say that that's the case with this particular story, but, it's just, we have to be, he moved there, and he was a rich man to these people. I mean, kind of like, the gentrifiers are. They come into Black communities, and they're buying the block. And it becomes, like we said just last week, we had the conversation about the animosity. People are angry, and I can only imagine. He seemed to be a really nice guy. He had great personality, but I think people there didn't see that. They saw this man that, we don't know the specifics of the story, but I'm just saying, just in a very general context of what you're trying to articulate, is that, moving into this community, these people were probably feeling a certain kind of way about him coming there and buying their property.
Well, yes, Tamara, and we waited particularly for the family, because we have utmost respect and they need justice no matter what. Mm-hmm. But we also need to get, some clarity to understand how we move and how we at times can be perceived, as you said, because I'm positive that Mr. Reed did not intend just like that. And I'm not suggesting that he at all deserved what happened to him. Not at all. That being said, just like that person in the video that you sent with Nola, she's like, I'm here. I want to hang out with you. But she doesn't see the dumpster behind her and the house is being flipped. They took a private car and blocked off the street, no permit. She doesn't hear the beginning of that video where this Black man says, I was profiled last week. And he's upset about the gentrification. He looks so angry, but really there's all these other factors going on, and people have their own perspectives. They view things. Let me share for a minute how the people in Colombia who live there on the ground might have felt. They might have felt like, look at this guy coming in, expat with their money. So many of them are coming here, buying up our buildings, putting our businesses out, because that was what was going to happen. Okay. They all knew it. Putting our tenants out or raising the rents, because that was going to happen. It's in DC Rob's video, and dating, quote unquote, our women.
Yeah. It just makes this is just such a sad story. It really does break my heart in so many ways, because this man who was just adventurous and wanted to, experience life, living his best life. And this happened to him. And my heart just breaks for this family. I wish the world was just a better place, period. I just wish the world was just a better place, not just in our communities here, but there's so much work to do. And I just want our representatives. I want Warnock. I want Ossoff. I want Congress here in Georgia. I want them to pay attention to this story. I want them to hear. I want them to respond.
Yeah, agreed. And I want them to operate our policies differently, because this, this theory is pervasive all over the world. You know, the Palestinians feel like Israel are occupiers, and that has to do with policy, and they are retaliating. And people who legacy residents feel like gentrifiers are coming in and harming their communities and calling for enforcement and taking over and disrespecting them. So it's two different perspectives. And U.S. policy that impacts all these other countries, or U.S. imperialism, you know, that invades all the countries in Latin America except two, including Colombia, has an effect on us. It has an effect on the way we're perceived. It has an effect on the way we're received. And that's probably why these folks are not, the people in Colombia are not responsive unless they have to, because the U.S. has dealt with this country a certain way.
Yeah.
And it will show up in front of you. It will show up in front of your face, and it will affect your family. So but either way, we need to help get them justice. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to do what we can. We're going to stick and stay with this family. We're not going to stop. And that's why these broadcasts, again, that's why this work that we do, Robby, is so important. That's why the work that Rob is doing is so important, because the media just will not respond. Like I said, I do have a pretty extensive list that I will be sending this video out. Somebody's got to pick it up. And I want our legislators, I want Warnock, I want Ossoff, I want our congressmen across the state. I want them to hear this story, and I want them to respond. And we're going to keep shouting. We're going to keep pushing, and we're going to keep telling this story until they respond.
And I want
Black Lives Matters.
Of course. Yeah. 1,000%. And that's exactly why we're doing this. But I also want to give a shout out to all the viewers, because I have learned in my later years, you don't bother telling somebody something beyond their comprehension. This audience is so reasonable. This audience can actually hear, after hearing this horrible story about this man that lost his life and his adventurous spirit, and seeing his family and the injustice here, can still take into a larger context and still see, okay, yeah, we gotta understand all aspects. And that's really impressive, because a lot of cultures, and you'll probably know who I'm talking about, can't do that, or refuse to do that, or won't do that. And they may be the people in political authority. You know, that is what I see a lot of times with Caucasian culture. They just, you know, shut down, take everything personally, can't even process. And it's probably part of their conditioning. But that's a problem. That's our problem. It's all of our problem. And eventually it's going to show up at their door. And they need to understand that too. Because that video that you sent me, and I put it on my page, about the gentleman in NOLA in New Orleans, you know, that's going to happen all over the country if we don't stop this. If we don't shift, if we don't have politicians that are not bought and paid for and only respond to who they are bought and paid for by.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I'm talking loud. I apologize.
No, that's passion. That's that fire in your belly, Robby. No, we're tired of being tired. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm tired of being tired. I'm tired of singing the same song. I'm tired of pushing people to respond that don't want to respond, and you elect them. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of this old, go along to get along. I'm tired because you black like me, that makes you right. Hell no, it doesn't.
Well, there's a comment here from You Die. I don't know how to say. I'm sorry. I'm not even going to try. People butcher my name all the time, so I go by Robby. But it says here, and there's bystanders that reached out to us on my page that said there it is. Shooters came straight up to him. It does look like a setup. It looks like Mr. Reed was set up, and I'm sure he was completely, when someone like that moves in, everybody's looking. And he was shaking up that situation. He was shaking up that entire property. But shout out to Tamara, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't Tamara. She's the one that did all this.
We just keep coming. We just keep coming. We're not going to go away. And we have, I just want to thank our audience. Like you say, Robby, we have a really good audience that, oh, we see this and we speak truth to power, and we're not going to stop.
And please share, hashtag it, share in public arena. Please don't just share with your friends. Please put it in a public setting, because when you just share with your friends, somebody tries to share it and then it says post was deleted, not visible in this audience. Mr. Reed's family, Mr. Reed's legacy needs to be heard. Our representatives need to be accountable. Tweet them and share in your circles and use hashtags.
Use his name. Say his name. Timothy Revell Reed. Timothy Revell Reed. Let's use that hashtag so that people can find this and follow this story. I want to thank you, Robby. I want to thank Mr. Rob, DC Born Rob, for taking this story and not letting go of it. I want to thank you, Robby, for joining me on this broadcast and riding with me. We're in the trenches. This is the work, and we're committed to doing the work here in Georgia. Every week, everybody, we come to you. Let me put our banners up on the screen here, giving voice to issues, activism right here around the state of Georgia and around the country. We're speaking truth to power. I am Tamara Johnson-Shealey. You can find Miss Robby Coban at robbycoban.com. You can find me at tamarashealey.com. We will be back with you right back here next Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Speaking truth to power, Robby.
Same bat channel, same bat place.
Yeah, there it is.
Tamara, Robby.